a cuckoo, kachoo. What is up, YouTube adventure family? Today, we're going to talk about something that I think isn't really talked about enough, in my opinion. And that is the fact of the squeaky brake thing. Like, when we research our bikes, we look for our bikes, we find the bike that we love, we find the bike that we like, whatever. We make the purchase. We unbox it. We put it on the handlebars, we put it on the front wheel. And everything is going great. It takes off. You're going down the road. You're super excited, and then bam, you hit the brakes. And then you get the squeakity squeak squeak on your brand new, newly purchased, newly assembled, waited for who knows how long, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days, whatever, for your e-bike. And then bam, squeaky brakes. There's really nothing more annoying, and the reason I'm bringing this up and discussing this with everybody today is I don't really know where I'm going today. They're doing some construction over here, building a new pond, so all the kids have to play soccer. We can probably go over here. There's probably nobody over here. We'll talk about the brakes over here. That rattles the chain, then I've got the chain on here. But anyways, we'll get the idea. It's beautiful out. Oh man, oh man. But squeaky freaking brakes are about the most annoying thing in the world. They really are. Now, the problem is this. On these squeaky brakes, hold on here, let me get this. The problem is with these squeaky brakes, and what I'm talking about, the culprits are going to be in here. These are the calipers, and these are the rotors. Okay, your brake pads, I changed mine out from the factory ones, as you could see, just the other day. And that's the reason I'm bringing this up, because this is like, I don't know, the 6th or 7th e-bike that I've purchased. And they all have the same freaking problem, and that's the squeaky brake thing. Now what it is, it's a couple of different things, okay, but the main culprit are the factory brakes, or the factory brake pads that come in here. The factory brake pads that come in here are complete junk, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I mean, they're complete junk. I put them in like the package of the new ones, but I'll show you what they look like. These things right here, these little copper, here, get in the sun there. These little copper brake pads, they're just complete garbage. They're just, I mean, they work. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they work, they do their thing. But the problem with these things is they hold a lot of contaminants. In the pad itself is what I'm thinking, because they're copper based and it's a soft metal, and they hold a lot of contaminants. Now the brake pads that I buy as soon as I order an e-bike usually are these right here, the Geckers. These are ceramic. These are the Pro X ceramics, and they don't hold as much contaminants. Now what I'm saying is holding contaminants, like, okay, like from, for example, from the factory or whatever, they could get contaminated pretty easily in the factory from dust or oil or whatever, dirt, whatever. They could get contaminated really easy. And also, these rotors right here definitely get contaminated really easy, whether they're in the factory or you're just on the road riding. They get dust, they get grime, they get wet, they get gross. They get disgusting. And what happens with these cheaper brake pads that come with these e-bikes, they hold a lot of contaminants. So if you get anything on your rotors, even if you clean your rotors as soon as you get them, which I recommend you do anyway with alcohol, just to keep the squeak down until you get better brake pads or whatever, but clean them anyways. But what I suggest you do is when you pick out your e-bike, you order a couple ceramic aftermarket, like the Geckers. I'll put a link below. You can get them on Amazon, but I will put a link below for the ones that fit the Rave e-bike, fit like the Juice Strip Racer, fit the Ingway. They fit all those bikes I've had because I've used them, and they're just really, really consistently great brake pads. And I change my brake pads about every 500 miles, give or take, just depending on how I've been riding. But yeah, the Geckers. These brake pads, the ones I use are the orange ones. They're ceramic. You can see right there, and it's super easy. So basically, I'm not going to go over this in full detail. There's plenty of videos for your particular bike out there. Okay, so how I do it is this. I'll unscrew this belt right here in the actual calipers a little bit, and then I'll unscrew these main belts all the way and take it off, okay? So after I do that, I'll unscrew this belt the rest of the way, remove the brake pads, pop in the new ones, put in a new screw, put in the screw into the new brake pads, put these two bolts back on, bolt it down really nice secure, and it allows me to straighten it on the actual rotor itself to get a nice aligned movement. And I do that on the back as well as the front. Now, like a lot of people will do on the front, they'll like flip their bike over and all that. Okay, cool. Just do whatever you want to do, but I'm just telling you the way I do it. I'll loosen this bolt up here for the brake pads, then I'll take these two bolts off, take the calipers off, and then I'll loosen this all the way, put in new brake pads, put it back in, then bolt it down, tighten this back up, and boom, it's done. And I've got it like securely fastened on my bike, and I've got it lined up with the rotors. That's the way I do it. But just look at a bunch of YouTube channels. There's a bunch of them out there that show you how to do your specific bike. That's how I do this specific bike. This is a Bullet. It works for the Juice Strip Racer same way. There's like a little cotter pin on the Juice Strip Racer, and then there's like a little cotter pin on the Ingway that I had. But as far as all the Rave bikes, all three of the Rave bikes I've had, those have all been really nice because they've had that little screw there, which may or may not be great. I don't know. Anyways, look at that bike. Looks good, doesn't it? So you can see some of the extra. I got some mud guards on there now. You know, the fishing rod holder, speaker holder, phone holder here, the Insta360 holder, and the extra battery and the kryptonite lock. I will put a link below for these brake pads. That is what we're discussing today. I'll put a link below so you can find those again on Amazon, and they're the Geckers. I use the ceramic ones. Just be sure that you get the right brake pad for your bike. So if you got to go on the website where you bought your bike or whatever and look to see what the model number for the brake pads are, do that reference to find. But the ceramic ones are what works best for me. And as you can see, I live in Colorado. There's just lots of hills, and I really use my brakes. And coming up and down Whiskey Hill up here, you know, those brake pads are super important. And I sure as heck don't want to hear the squeak. So the mystery of the squeak is definitely the factory brake pads. Even if they're not contaminated initially, they get contaminated, they're going to squeak really bad. And like I said, there's nothing worse than purchasing your new toy and it's squeaky. You're showing it off to your friends and you're pulling up and you're stopping and it's squeaking. It's so freaking annoying. My suggestion, like I said, when you order your bike, go ahead and order a couple sets of brake pads. You're going to need them anyway. And it's good to stay on top of that so you don't damage your rotors. Because if you let those brake pads go down too far, they're going to damage your rotors, and then it could get expensive because then you're going to have to buy new rotors, and you have to get somebody to put on the new rotors if you can't yourself. It could become like a couple $100. Anyways, the Rave Bullet X is looking good. I will leave a link below for the Rave Bullet X and any of the Rave e-bikes that they carry, the GT, the GTX, the Rave Bullet. They're all great bikes. I've really, really enjoyed this. I'll be doing a 250-mile review on this bike here soon. Also, if you want to learn how to bleed your brakes if you have hydraulic brakes, I did a video about that on one of my friends' Cyrushers e-bikes, and I'll put a link below for how to bleed your brakes too. It's super easy to do this maintenance, like bleeding your brakes, brake pads, changing your tires, that kind of stuff. That's stuff you all need to learn how to do on these bikes. Otherwise, you're gonna pay like a lot of money for people to do it. And you're gonna pay people like me to do it, which I'll be more than happy to do it. And I do a lot of that here in the neighborhood. I do a lot of e-bike repair now, changing controllers and batteries and rewiring harnesses and all that kind of stuff I'm doing now. But look at it, it is beautiful out. But the mystery of the Squeaky e-brakes is definitely the factory pads that come with these things. Get good ceramic brakes. Clean your disc often. I use rubbing alcohol just like a paper towel, and I just clean those rotors often because I get a lot of grime around here in Colorado, a lot of dust more than anything. But depending on where you are, if you're in the city, you're probably going to get more grime and grossness and all that. So keep your rotors clean. Keep your brake pads changed and use quality brake pads. Make sure there's no squishiness here in your brake pad levers. You may need to bleed your brakes. The brakes are, like, to me, the most important part of the bike. So if you don't have hydraulic brakes, at least 2-piston hydraulic brakes, front and back on your e-bike, that's dangerous to me. This is super dangerous. But anyways, that is the mystery of the Squeaky brake pads. It comes from the factory. They just tend to hold a lot of contaminants. Those cheaper brake pads, especially the copper ones, it's a softer metal, it's a porous metal, as opposed to like a ceramic that's just a more stable brake pad. And there's others out there. There's like this bimetal, trimetal, I don't know. There's all kinds, but the ceramic ones were the ones that worked for me, and I'm just telling you, and like I said, I change them like every 500 miles. Anyways, I hope that solves the mystery of the Squeaky brake pads, because it is the one thing that every time I've gotten a new e-bike has driven me absolutely batshit crazy. And I hope solving that mystery on all these e-bikes that I've gotten will keep you from going through the same frustration. Until our next adventure, this is Chris from the Colorado Adventure Channel, enjoying a beautiful sunny day here in Colorado on my e-bike.